Hey YouTube, this is going to be a video on adjusting the chain tension on a Kawasaki Z900. Basically, what the manual says is do put it on a side stand to test the chain, and roll it to where the chain is the tightest, and then go ahead and make your measurement by pushing the chain down and then pushing it up, and it should not move more than 25 to 35 millimeters. And so what I do is, right now I got this line set right on 2. I can push it down 1/4 of an inch, and then I can push it up, I guess 1.5 from 2, so it's 1 3/4. So it's about a 1/2 inch out of tolerance, so it needs tightened up a little bit. So that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, here's the area where I'm going to be working. Basically what we got here is, I'm going to pull this off. It's the cap over there. We got a cotter pin we'll be pulling out. And you're supposed to replace it with a new one. Every time you do this job, you can buy them online. And we got these two bolts here, or this bolt here. This is the locking. This one here is for locking. It's a number 12. And this one here is the adjuster. It is also number 12. And as soon as I pull this pin out, I'm going to figure out what size this is and tell you what the correct socket is. Alright, first we're going to take this cotter pin out here. Here's, straighten it out. This out or not. I feel like there's probably a tool made to do this, but I don't have it. Alright, cut things out. See what socket this is on the axle nut. Try this one first. Nope. Let's be the big daddy here. This thing out. Alright, it says number 27 on it. Alright then. Alright, went ahead and took pictures and notated where this mark is on both sides, and oddly it's not the same on both sides. It's off by just a tad, so it's going to be interesting when I'm doing this. See, I went ahead and loosened the locking bolt on the other side already, and to loosen it you actually turn it as if you were tightening it. So that's that. I want to try something. Just see. No, okay. Just want to verify I wasn't adjusting it at all by trying to throw away. Alright, so we got that loosened up. We got the other side loosened up. Now we're going to use the number 27 socket and go ahead and crack this bolt a little bit. Alright, I got my brake bar here. Hopefully this isn't some weird angle. Hope it's not some reverse nut, but let's see. It's supposed to be on by like over 80 foot. It's got, I'll give you the exact torque specs on this, but it's kind of a lot. But let me go ahead and crack it here. Worried I'm doing it the wrong way for some reason. It's up on both sides. Alright, so. Alright, it's sufficiently loose now. Alright. So now, I'm going to go ahead and. First thing I'm going to do is just try and bring this side into alignment with the other side. Just, well, I should do it at the same time. Alright. So I'm going to push it out. So I'm going to turn this way, I believe. So make a mark here. Turn it one flange and see what happens. And do that. Alright, that wasn't too bad actually on the slag, so yeah, go ahead and get the other side. Now, 2 flanges. Okay. What worries me though is it's not even on both sides, and it wasn't even when I started, so I'm kind of wondering if I need to do something else here. Take some measurements. Okay, after some wrangling, I basically turned them both pretty much the same. The alignment on both sides, according to the ticks, is still off a little bit. And I went ahead and I retightened the locking bolts on both sides. And I tested the chain. Chain's got just over 1 inch of slack right now, which is where I wanted it. It needs to be like between 1 inch and 1 1/4, so it's right in the range there right now. So I also took the opportunity to order a chain alignment sighting tool. So we'll see. Okay, I'll get another opinion here. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and tighten this up a little bit, and then it's supposed to be 81 foot-pounds, and then I'm going to put it up on the paddock stands and measure the distance between the center of this hub and the center of the swing arm over here. So I'll try that. I'll do it on both sides and make sure it matches, and then we'll see what happens after that. So go ahead and get my torque wrench out. Alright, now I go ahead and tighten this up to 81 foot-pounds. Well, actually, I'm just going to tighten it kind of close. I'm not going to put a cotter pin in yet. So I want to do some tests. I'm going to have to realign this thing again, so. Alright. The trick is to get it to line up where the cotter pin will go through. Close here. Alright. I'm not going to go all the way yet. I'm going to jack it up real quick. It's on there pretty good. Then I'm going to jack it up, and then I'll do the measuring. Alright, I went ahead and I had jacked it up on the stand, and I measured both sides. And basically what the ticks were telling me was a pretty accurate statement of what was going on the other side there, is it being slightly out of whack. So I think this was actually out of whack before I started. That's probably why the chain had some slack in it, but this side probably, the other side probably came out some, I don't know. Anyhow, so I brought them closer into alignment. They're pretty close. I took these, I took a measuring tool and I measured the gap from these screws on both sides too, and made sure they were the same. So it lines up. I looked down the chain, it looks the same, but I'm not going to be getting the chain sighting tool for a couple days. But I think it looks good. I'm going to take it for a test ride, and if I feel like it's wobbling around, then I'll bring it back. But I think it looks pretty good so far. So thanks, guys. I think that'll do it. Hey YouTube, this is the next day after I did my first ever Z900 chain tension adjustment. The struggle was real, but it worked out okay. I did some tests on the highway and doing cornering, and everything seemed in order. I'd say, in summation, trust the ticks that are on either side of the hub. They're fairly accurate, and you got to figure there'd be some kind of legal ramification if they weren't accurate, right? So, and mine were not in alignment when I started, and when I did measurements between the center of the hub and the center of the swing arm, it was kind of reflected that it was not, the ticks were accurate, and when they were out of alignment, the measurements were different on either side. So also, when you're doing changes where you're bringing one side of the hub, like one side of the wheel in further, or both sides, because I had done some adjustments, you kind of got to push the tire against the adjusters to see the change. There's no like tension in there pushing the tire against this. So if you make a change where you're going in this way, you got to push the tire against this thing to see it, to get a measurable difference. It didn't require a whole lot of adjustments to take a 1/2 inch of slack out of the chain. I think I did maybe 3/4 of a turn, maybe half a turn. It didn't take much at all, so keep that in mind. Also, when you're tightening the hub, when you go to put the full 81 foot-pounds, retightening this, you're going to need a wrench on the other side to keep that from turning. So, gotta hold it in place. And I've got a sight tool for the chain coming in, so I'm gonna double check everything as good as I can and make sure it looks good. But I think it's all right. So thanks, guys.